Hi, co-reporters. Welcome back to my channel. Today is January 10th, Tuesday, January 10th, to be precise, which means that Prince Harry's book, Spare, has officially dropped. Like I promised, got a copy of it on Audible, and I have been listening to it religiously since it came out. I'm pulling up my Audible specifically so that I can show you. I am on chapter 24 of the book right about now, and it's a long book. It's about 400 pages, meaning that there are at least like 60 chapters. Like, what? Yeah. So I am only a sliver of the way through, and I just felt like it was so important to get into some of the media lies that have come out surrounding this book. And what I mean by that is that there were quite a few passages here where in reading it or in listening to him narrate it to you, it comes off a completely different way than the way that the press wanted us to believe that Harry intended to say some things. So if you follow me on TikTok, then you've probably already seen the series of videos that I've made about it thus far. But if not, let's get into this long form over here on YouTube. So let's first talk about what he had to say about his brother, Prince William's balding hair and losing his resemblance to their mother, Princess Diana. So when that excerpt came out, it literally was left just at that Prince Harry, when he went back to the funeral, he noticed that his brother was balding like he had never seen before, and that he was starting to lose his resemblance to their mother, the late great Princess Diana. So when you read it that way, when you hear it that way, you, like me, probably had the reaction, what the heck, Harry? Why would you say that? Like, that is just so cruel and unnecessary, especially when Harry himself is losing his hair. But that's the reaction that the press wanted you to have. They have a vested interest in you hating, you and I, not just you, sorry, but you and I hating Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. So they just go through like great lengths to come up with ways for us to be hysterical about it. And I gotta say, listen, they've done a great job because there already has been so much hysteria about what it is that he said. He's been painted as the royal who's destroying his family. He's getting his revenge through the book, but that's just not at all how it comes across as when you actually read the book, you guys. Like, his words are so different. So, like, in starting with that, the comments about Prince Harry losing his hair and his resemblance to Princess Diana. I'm gonna put up a photo of her because I did not come prepared with a photo of her from before. So what Harry actually meant in the book was that because he had not seen his brother in so long before their grandfather, Prince Philip's funeral, he forgot what his brotherhood looked like. You guys know how that is, right? Like when you live with your family or you live with somebody, your spouse or whatever, you see them every day. So there are things about them that you don't even really notice. But after Harry left the UK to go live in Canada and then to go live in the US, it had been the first time that he had really been away from his brother for so long that he would even like take the time to notice certain things. So that's where the hair comes in. He goes, wow, like it's like I was looking into a mirror, watching the way he was losing his hair, just like my own. Harry acknowledges that he himself, as you can see in this photo, is losing his hair. And he talks about William losing his resemblance to their mother and how, again, that is a mirror to him that perhaps he is going through the same thing as well. And so I actually found it to be quite a poignant part of the book that I really enjoyed reading. It was just so vulnerable and introspective. So it's sad to see the way that it has been bastardized in the press, the way that they turned it into Prince Harry just insulting his brother for no reason, when it truly was just an introspection at the end of the day. So there was another part where he talks about their father, Prince Charles's popularity rapidly declining after the death of Princess Diana. His popularity ratings were even in the single digits, you guys. And Fiji, one of the Commonwealth countries at the time, had pulled a holiday that they initially created in honor of Prince Charles. Like, it was that bad. Prince Charles wanted to rehab his image, so he brought Prince Harry with him on a voyage to South Africa so that he could watch a concert held by the Spice Girls Nelson Mandela. So at that time, the Spice Girls were massive, and Nelson Mandela, we all know, is an icon. So Prince Charles was like, listen, this has got to be it, right? This has got to be it for me. This is going to help me get my approval ratings back up. So now there was another story about how Harry and his brother, Prince William, allegedly begged their father, Prince Charles, not to marry Camilla. So that was portrayed as him not, well, the two of them not wanting Charles to marry Camilla because Camilla was someone that they hated or this or that. But when you actually read the book, you think, wow, what a really thoughtful child. Not just Harry, but William as well. They were thoughtful children because Harry in the book says that the reason that they didn't want for Charles and Camilla to marry was because, like we just talked about with Charles's single digits approval rating, the world hating him and blaming him for Diana's death, they also blamed Camilla, right? So Harry and William were both thinking that it would be horrible for both Charles and Camilla in the press to get married at this point. They were like, listen, you guys are already in love and this and that. We adore Camilla. He literally says that they adore her. Another thing that was not put out there when the excerpts were released. And they didn't even blame Princess Camilla for Princess Diana's death. At that point, they said that they understood her as being a victim of the system, the same way that their father was, and the same way that their mother was as well. But they knew the way that the press, they were bloodhounds. They would go relentlessly attack Charles and Camilla, and that was the main reason why he did not want the two of them to marry. But that's not to say that Harry did not spill some tea in this book, you guys. Harry did spill some tea, particularly in regards to Princess Camilla's fake, conniving, social climbing ways. He said that Camilla, when it was time to meet William for the first time, just reversing things there, she was really excited. She did her homework on him so that she could be really engaging with him and whatnot, because he was going to be the heir to the throne one day, and she wanted to be on his good side. She wanted him to love her. But unfortunately, when it came time to meet Prince Harry for this first time, according to Harry, Camilla was not as engaged with him. In fact, she seemed a little bit bored with him. They tried to force conversation around horses because Camilla apparently loves horses and Prince Harry apparently knows how to ride horses. So they tried and tried, but it just was not the same amount of enthusiasm and effort that she put into trying to have a relationship with the heir. And so when it comes to the press and her trying to win the press over after all of the controversy with Princess Diana and her passing, Harry says that she started trying to kind of butter people up to the idea of her potentially becoming queen one day and marrying Prince Charles. According to Harry, Camilla and William would often spend one-on-one time together, and somehow, some way, statements from Prince William made during one-on-one moments with Camilla would always find their way to the press about how much he enjoys spending time with her and whatnot in order to butter up the public. So that's the first instance we see of him exposing Camilla for being a leak to the press. But it wasn't in the same nasty kind of way that the media would have you believe. He just says it in a way that was just very matter of fact, right? So I found that to be quite interesting. And so he did also talk a little bit about his own bodyguard. There was a bodyguard that he and Prince William had growing up whose name was Graham. And just to be funny, the two boys used to commonly refer to him as Crackers as a play on his name Graham, right? With the very famous Graham crackers. I thought that was a very adorable story that, really shows how much of a jokester and a fun guy Harry and William both were, right? I think Harry is still that guy. You see a more reserved William with him being the heir to the throne and whatnot, but that was quite cute. I really did enjoy that story. That was probably one of my favorite anecdotes from the book. We did hear him talk a little bit about Diana's boyfriend that she had before her passing. He talks about how William and him met the guy, and he presented Diana with a diamond bracelet, and she seemed happy, so the two boys were happy for her as well. Though he does ultimately say that he thinks that the only two men who ever truly loved the late, great Princess Diana were him and William. Now, I know that Princess Diana's mom was a bit of a deadbeat, I believe, and she ran away from her responsibilities as a mother, but I always thought that her dad was in the picture. So, did something happen with the dad as well? Was anybody able to kind of fill me in on that? I would love to know because that was something that kind of surprised me. And here's something that's not really going to surprise you guys. It seemed as though, in the wake of the passing of his mother, Princess Diana, Prince Harry developed a little bit of it might be a little bit crass to say this, but like mommy fetish or like a, a, a penchant for older women because he talks about like the women at the boarding school crushes on various ones there. It was an all male boarding school and they were all like what 12, 11, 12, 13 years old, and like the mistresses were 30s, 40s and whatnot. So he was talking about having crush on women like 20 plus years older than him. And I think that he was just looking for someone to fill the hole in his heart left behind by the passing of his mother. And he also talks about how he does suffer from memory issues a little bit because of the trauma of the passing of his mother. You know, he has been trying so hard to block the memory of her passing out and just to not even accept the fact that she passed, because he a lot of the times he says that ever since mom disappeared, he won't say that she passed away, right? So this is definitely something that he is still grappling with. He actually opens up about the final conversation that he had with his mother and how much he regrets it to this day. So basically what happened was that this conversation actually took place on Princess Diana's last day of life. What happened was Prince Harry was having a really fun day with his brother, Prince William. They were running around playing as children do. Princess Diana, she was in Paris, as we know, and she called to talk to her sons on the phone. But unfortunately, as any kid would in that situation, Prince Harry was just so wrapped up in playing with his brother, Prince William, that he did not want to be on the phone. And so, unfortunately, he rushed his mother, Princess Diana, off the phone. And to this day, he talks about how much he regrets that that was our last conversation and how much he wishes he could apologize to her for that. You know, one thing that I really, really, really learned throughout this book is just how much pain and suffering and anguish Prince Harry is still in as a result of his mother's passing. It really, really, really is sad. He even says at one point that perhaps his mother would still be alive if she hadn't married their father, Prince Charles. You know, although he doesn't blame Prince Charles for and Camilla for the passing of Princess Diana, he muses about the possibility that she could have still been alive if she was not kind of unfortunately a victim of their toxic love triangle. And that just makes me so sad for the two of them. Another thing that was quite sad was the way that Prince Harry, remember, he was so young when his mother died. He was a child. And he felt an enormous amount of pressure to never cry in his life. And that is something that he still carries to this day. Through therapy, he's gotten a lot of help with that. But that once it's instilled in you from childhood, it's really tough. So when it was the funeral for Princess Diana, all he could do the whole day was to force himself to not cry. And it had just been instilled in him so much that it almost came naturally. But he does remember thinking, wow, it's crazy that here I am not crying as a child, and these grown people are in my face crying, and I'm having to console them. And I felt really, really bad for him in there. You know, he said he just made him feel weird. And when you think about it, it truly is weird, right? Like, the world had an emotional connection with Princess Diana without really knowing her. She didn't know us, but we loved her. And we don't know her, but we love her, right? And so everybody was just crying, crying, crying. And Harry had to, as a child, accept their flowers and console them about the death of a woman they didn't even know, who was his mother. It was originally supposed to be William as the only son who would walk behind the coffin because he was older than Prince Harry at the time. But Prince Harry, and this is another anecdote that I loved. I wonder, why did this positive anecdote not get printed in the press, right? In the preview. Prince Harry, he said, listen, I would never let my brother go through that alone. So I insisted on being there there with him, following our mother's body through the procession. And I just thought that was gorgeous. And he said that Prince William would have done the same for him if the younger brother as well. And I thought that was just beautiful and touching. And it speaks to the amount of love that they still have for each other to this day, despite their differences and the amount of just toxicity in the press trying to drive them further and further apart through the manipulation of the story, right? Like, we've got the story now. It came out today in Prince Harry's own words, and it is nothing at all like it was portrayed initially. And so it must be interesting if Prince William got a copy of it so that he could finally read it for himself and understand the full context behind some of the statements that had been prematurely released. So there was one moment at the end of Princess Diana's funeral where Prince Harry was finally alone, and he cried like any child would cry after losing their mother. But unfortunately for him, he was just so brainwashed from childhood that crying was bad and it was horrible and it was shameful. He felt bad about himself. He felt guilty for having a normal human emotion of crying. And that just made me so sad for him, so sad for William, and so sad for all the royal kids in there right now. I know that Archie and Lily, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's children, they're not going to go through this, right? Because they're living outside of the palace, they're living outside of the institution. They're going to be taught that it's okay to cry, it's okay to have feelings, it's okay to have emotion. But unfortunately, William and Kate's children, representing the monarchy, are not going to be able to be this way. It seems like they have to be raised to be little diplomats, and I wonder how that is going to impact them moving forward. Will there be another Prince Harry in that generation who's going to break free from the monarchy and do some healing on their own and open up about what it is that they've gone through as a result of being born into that institution? I don't know. I don't know. But he certainly has paved the way for them if that is something that they want to do. It seems like he really sacrificed himself and his own reputation in order to potentially allow that for the future heir and spare. So that was quite wonderful as well. So now, in the final kind of thing that was misrepresented by the press, let's talk about Prince William not wanting to acknowledge the fact that he was Prince Harry's brother in the boarding school. So they go to the boarding school, and Prince William just tells Harry, listen, over here, can we just pretend that we're not brothers? And it seemed like Harry was bitter about that. He was upset about that because he was that little brother who wanted to tag along with his big brother. But no, in the book, he says that he understood it. He totally got where Prince William was coming from. He said that his brother simply did not want to be a package deal with his little brother at school or anymore in general. And it made sense to Harry as well, because even when they were children, their mother used to dress them up in the same outfits pretty much, right? Like, they never really got to have their own kind of an identity. And so Harry understood this as William's opportunity to be able to be himself. And so he decided ultimately that he would oblige his big brother and try to give him the space. So do you see, guys, like when they pick and choose certain sentences but don't tell the full story, how much room is left for interpretation? And unfortunately right now we're in this kind of like an era of media where people read things, listen to things, and watch things in bad faith. So it's so easy to manipulate people with negativity to believe the worst of everything, that this is a hit job of a book meant to destroy the family, destroy the monarchy, when you actually take the time to listen to it or read it yourself, you realize it's just a diary of a man who is going through his healing journey. He's acknowledging what he's gone through, and he's just being as honest as possible while trying to not hurt people. It seems like he's not trying, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like he could have gone in a little bit more about Camilla in particular, right? Princess Camilla, I'm sorry, but her and Prince Charles, if I were Harry or if I were William, I would still be blaming the two of them for the death of Princess Diana. But the fact that he took the time to talk about how he and William appreciated how kind she was to them and that they felt like they adored her and this and that, and that they felt like she and Charles were victims to the institution the same way that their mother was. Like, I felt like that was quite nice at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Anyway, listen, like I said, I am on chapter 24. There are about like 60 chapters to this thing. So stay tuned. I will continue to read, and I will continue to point out inconsistencies between what the media says he said and what he actually said, and other bits and bobs that you might be interested in about the book. Okay, so if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so that you continue to not learn about it, but continue to, I don't know, hear about Spare, and we continue to discuss it together in the comment section down below. All right, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.